Awesome. Hello, everybody. I'm Shirin Alipana. I am one of the board members of Village Core Organizations, and I'm here with Yasmin Shah that we're going to step into a very important topic that is near and dear to my heart, and we're going to understand what it means, really. So, Yasmin, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. I am excited
Awesome.
to talk about villages, even though
There you go.
I'm going to say it right now that
Mhm.
I'm tone deaf to V's and W's. So if I say villages wrong, I can't tell the difference.
All good, all good. Thank you for the disclaimer right there. Okay, so we've been hearing villages, right? When it comes to seniors and seniors population, I've been hearing villages and the concept of having the village. When we say it takes a village to do something, I think this goes back to the same concept, right? But since you've been involved with this community since early 2000s, right? So why don't you just tell us a little bit about what it means? What do they do? Like, people come together, do they actually physically get together? How do they work together? How they collaborate? How this community was created, and how is it helping with aging in place for our seniors?
Okay, cool. So, we see these signs all over, no matter what city you go to, senior village, this and that, and all of that, where those are communities, retirement communities that actually people move into. What today we are talking about is different than that. This solution is for people who want to age in their own homes and not move into a retirement community, but yet have the same type of services that a retirement community might offer and more. So this concept was first implemented in Beacon Hill, Massachusetts in very early 2000s. And 10 wealthy seniors got together, they pooled money, and they hired a social worker and said, "You're going to be our one place to call no matter what our needs are. And you're also going to keep us socially engaged and active." Since then, hundreds of these villages have popped over all over the country and even internationally. And there is a networking organization for villages. It's called Village to Village Network. And that organization holds once a year meeting where villages from all over come together and share what they are doing. All right. So I want to talk about the one village that I was involved in launching, and it's in the community of Tierra Santa in San Diego, and it'll give you a flavor for what it meant to be part of that village. So we had a, a full calendar of events. Like with Village Core, we are trying to do online events. This village had face-to-face events, and our calendar eventually got so full that we had to bump away and do some events later in the week because just the day was too full with the space that we rented. And we had things like I love this group. There was a singing group that would get together with all kinds of instruments. And there was a singing teacher who was retired. She led that group. And it was really good for people with Parkinson's, especially, to sing. So they would get their little, chimes and little drums or whatever they had, or just bring their voices with them and sing songs together for an hour twice a week. And that was amazing. There was another group that I thought was really cool, which was called Knit and Nosh. And there was a group of ladies who all loved to knit. And the leader of the group would find donated yarn from someone.
Oh, wow.
She would go to these different shops and get donated yarn. And then she would assign everybody projects to do. And once a month, everybody brought their projects back. And projects were like squares. They had to all knit squares. And then there was one person assigned to take all these squares and knit them into blankets. And then they would take these blankets to the VA and donate them. So it was
Wow.
a win-win-win situation, right? These ladies got their fine motor skills working. They got a sense of accomplishment, and they helped people get these nice blankets. So those type of events, and then they had speakers come in, and all kinds of other things. There was a Romeo Club, and it was the Romeo Club was retired old men eating out.
Awesome.
And there was a tennis one which was called Hits and Giggles. So they would go to the tennis court. So all kinds of neat events throughout the week. And then the second part of it was being there for each other in the time of need. So there was a care committee, and the care committee had a retired physician on it, retired nurses, retired social workers. And if anyone in the village, and the village members were paying fees, and the geography for the village was determined, generally one zip code or two zip codes or something was the boundary, because you wanted everyone to be living close to each other. And if a village member would call and say, hey, I'm ending up in the hospital, the whole team would get together. And the story it's a difficult story, but it really illustrates how well this worked. There was a plane crash in San Diego, and it was a mom and daughter on the plane. The mom died right on the spot, and mom was a village member. And the daughter was in the hospital. And I went to visit her husband, Joe, 3 days after the plane crash. And there was a big cooler in the front of their house. And what the village members had done was they had found out how many friends and family were coming on what day, and they had distributed who was going to take lunch, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and they would bring those meals and put them in the cooler,
Wow.
not disturb them. And they knew, okay, by 7 o'clock somebody was bringing breakfast, by 12 o'clock someone was bringing lunch, so on and so forth. And so it was measured amount of meals right at the doorstep. And then the day I went to visit Joe, he was all dressed, ready to go somewhere. I said, are you going to the hospital? And he said, no, Frank's coming to pick me up and take me to the movies at the clubhouse. So they'd all, because that's what we did every Friday. So it was so endearing that they'd already kind of just trying to get him back to normalcy of living, if after such a tough tragedy. So these care committee members would go to the hospital if someone was in the hospital and find out, okay, someone needs to take care of their dog. When they come back from the hospital, they'll need grab bars, whatever the case may be. The village members would come together and figure out how to solve those problems.
They just showed up, right? Like a family, basically.
Like a family, like an extended family. And then one of the coolest things we had was time banking. All right. So there was a 90-year-old who joined, and she said, you know what, I have a lot of needs, but I don't have anything to offer to society anymore. So how is this functionality going to work where I can barter my services for something else? Which was the concept of time banking. You did something for someone, you got a time bank dollar, not a real dollar, time bank dollar that you could use for service with a third person. So the executive director sat down with her and made a list of 9 things she could still do for others. And one of those things was she used to be a florist and could make wonderful centerpieces. So for one of our holiday parties, the village bought her a whole bunch of artificial flower arrangement things.
Mhm.
And she made these wonderful, really beautiful centerpieces for all the tables, which
Wow.
we auctioned off in front of her.
Oh my
And
God.
so now, not only did she feel like she contributed,
Yeah.
the village made money, and people were appreciative of how beautiful things she made. So it was a win-win-win situation.
Wow.
And those were the kinds of things we did to kind of just make it more like a village of old times, a
Mhm.
family that comes together to help each other as you age.
Yeah, and you make them feel appreciated, valued, that they are still relevant. And yes, they may think they don't have a lot to offer, but then when you go through them, you're like, these are all the things that you can still do and add value, right? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Awesome. Very
Yeah,
cool.
and we had a list of vetted service providers. So,
Mhm.
we had realtors on the list, we had home care agencies on the list, we had people who could, a plumbing, painter, all kinds of people that were professionals were vetted and they were on the list.
Right.
So if it came a time that the village member had to sell their house,
Mhm.
they knew who the trusted person was that they could go
Right.
to,
Yeah.
right? And if they needed repair, they could go to a trusted person. And there was each one of these villages generally have one or more paid staff. It does take, to run a professional organization. Each one of these organizations is a nonprofit. They have
Right.
membership fees anywhere from 250 to over $1,000 a year. So they
Mhm.
are still fairly affordable. The solution is really catered towards middle class families. There's as you can imagine, there's a lot of women members.
Right.
Women tend to live longer. They're more living by themselves and alone, and they need help for different
Yeah.
things. But there are lots of men. There are lots of couples that participate in that for that social interaction and support and camaraderie and feeling useful, right? If someone has to get up in the morning and take another person to doctor's office, they have a reason to get out of bed. Their life still has a purpose. And those were the kinds of things time bank members were forced to do, right? And
Right, right.
this
But
person,
that's such a beautiful concept, right? Time banking is like, okay, maybe you don't have some of the other resources, but this is what you can do to gain and fill up your bank basically, so you can use the services as well. So interesting concept.
right.
Awesome. Awesome. So like let's kind of stitch that to what we are doing here with Village Core. I know it's a little bit of a different concept, right? Because it's nothing is really physical. People don't actually get together. But how do you see the evolution of that into what we are doing at Village Core today?
I think what we are doing can actually be used by villages
Mhm.
for programming purposes,
Mhm.
because we are bringing experts online that a village might not be able to. Because, like, for example, we've done a full series on artificial intelligence, we've done a full series on online games, done a full series on real estate solutions and home mortgage and stuff like that. So all these villages could use the programming that we've put together. They could run these videos that are on YouTube and for their members, and have a discussion based on what they hear from the experts. They can also participate. So I think that's in conjunction. Also, what we are trying to do is figure out what people's expertise are and how companies might be able to use their expertise in terms of focus groups. And I have a new product or service, and I need to vet that out with a group of seniors or caregivers. Here's a platform where we'll be able to do that matching, where people can provide their skills, their years of experience that they have in the industry, to a budding entrepreneur. and create a win-win solution for the entrepreneur and for the senior, where you might get a little equity, or you might make a little bit of consulting dollars, or you might just get on a focus group and provide feedback and feel good about being useful. So I think there are different areas that we are focusing on, and different resources that are going to be available for both caregivers and seniors online.
That's awesome. It's more of a partnership collaboration, right, with existing villages to bring more resources to really be a hub where they can, even these villages can go to find professionals, find information, get connected. So that is awesome. So as a takeaway, what is one or two things that you want to leave the audience behind with?
Well, I would say please go subscribe to our YouTube channel and go to our website villagecore.org and participate with us, and leave us comments on any special topics you might want us to start tackling. Go to our resource pages, and if you're an expert in one of those areas, let us know, and we'll leverage your skills and experience in developing those pages that are going to be useful for the entire world.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, Yasmin. I appreciate all you do. And again, thank you, Yasmin, the founder of villagecore.org, amongst several other things. So we really appreciate you and your passion you bring to this community. And it's so obvious. Thank you and have a wonderful day.
All right. Thank you, Sharon.